So this will be a finale to my series, Friends in the City, starring Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. As back in 2019 I had stated, these two reminded me of two good friends that were going to become roommates, and they were really going to get to know each other when they lived under the same roof. And this situation could only turn out going very well, or it could go completely left. But there was never going to be a middle ground. And in this conclusion, we're going to hear from Kyrie Irving about how he felt on his Brooklyn Nets exit. Now, before we get to Kyrie on his thoughts, reflecting on his time with the Nets, I just want to say this about KD and Kyrie's whole experiment in Brooklyn. I knew things were going to go left when I heard KD tell Hot 97 radio station in New York City that he thought the Brooklyn Nets was quiet. We wanted to go somewhere where we just played basketball and it was quiet. I was like, KD has no idea how New York media is like. The whole situation with the pandemic and with Kyrie kind of having the 3 strikes against the media. First of all, requesting a trade away from LeBron was strike 1, as LeBron James has a powerful grasp in the media. Strike 2 was going to Boston, which is another capital of the NBA media, and kind of almost betraying that franchise. Strike 3 was him actually winning his case of not taking the jab during the pandemic and being able to play for the Brooklyn Nets afterwards. And then on top of that, I'll give him a strike 4. There's no such thing as a strike 4, but god damn, the strike while he was down anyway, it was him making comments about a certain religious group. But he reflected on his time in Brooklyn and what led to his exit. You guys check it out, and every once in a while I'll check in.
As you told us last year, you had never been traded in the middle of a year.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have closure with Brooklyn?
What do you mean closure?
Well, just like how
He said it like I was in a full-blown...
Well, you leave in the middle of a season.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're on good terms with the organization and just...
I mean, I was never on bad terms with the organization. I just think there was a lot of chaos and noise as usual from the media. I'm not going to blame you guys or anything, but again, nobody really knew what was going on behind the scenes, and I'm sure that people have their sources they go to and what was going on and what really happened. But for me, it was the best decision of my career, just to be able to ask for a trade. I knew I needed peace of mind. It was rough all the way around.
Wow. James Harden had the same sentiment when he left Brooklyn, and he even made comments after Kyrie got traded.
After COVID and after the situations that took place there, circumstances that were either in my control or out of my control.
AKA the New York mayor put in that ban on players not getting the jab in order to play, which made no sense. So as long as you play for a New York City team, you had to take the jab. If you didn't play for a New York City team, you were still allowed to play in those games. You didn't have to take the jab. It didn't make any sense. But Kyrie went back and forth with the New York City mayor, and he ended up winning that battle because the mayor eventually had to lift up his ban.
And I didn't want to play the blame game. Like I said, I had a media interview and I said there was some disrespectful things going on behind the scenes. And that happens in every organization as an employee. So it's not out of the ordinary to come out and communicate that. But again, when it's me, it's a fire starter. Everyone loves to use my name to build up whatever credibility they need.
And a lot of media members in New York did that. They sort of used Kyrie and him being part of the Nets. They sort of attached the Nets as anti-jab. They're the anti-jab group. Look at Kyrie. Kyrie's allowed to be in the arena, getting that courtside seat. That was him showing up the New York mayor. But people within that organization were upset that the Nets were sort of tied to being anti-jab, especially in New York. When it comes to that particular topic, one side kind of trumps the other, and Kyrie definitely went against that grain.
And at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with that. I think my criticism is fair as long as you keep it on the court and judge me off the success of our team. And don't try to dig too deep into who I am as a person, because I don't show who I am as a person in this business, because it's always constant eyewitness views of just random things that I don't necessarily agree with is being written about me. So I do my best to separate the two between having a work-life balance.
I wish KD does that more. But KD, with these burner accounts, he cares too much about what people think of him. I think now he's starting to find balance within that.
But the closure that you're talking about, man, is, I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to play this game. That's a media straightforward answer that you'll get from me on that.
And Kyrie going against that jab, I mean, you can tell what the climate was especially in Golden State when you seen Wiggins actually turn around and end up taking the jab anyway. He was outnumbered. He was completely outnumbered. And it's the same thing in New York. As you see the other professional NBA team, the Knicks, everyone took the jab. There was no questions asked. You got to understand your climate, but Kyrie at the end of the day, he went against the grain. He went against the grain. I think it got too tiring for the Nets. And pretty much when he got into making those statements about certain religious groups or just about a documentary, it became the straw that broke the horse's back.
Was that essentially like the whole situation with the COVID? Was that like the last straw, or were there other straws?
I mean, I was just trying to enjoy, the time that I had with some of my good friends and my peers in Brooklyn with James and KD and some young guys that we drafted. Well, we had a plan in place, and when plans change for individuals, and it happens again in any business. You got to make the best decision for you and your family. So again, when you have that eye-to-eye communication with your teammates and people on staff, and you're able to articulate how you feel, it shouldn't matter what's being said about you on the outside. And being in New York, being in the media capital in the world, it's the most political place in the world, other than like LA or overseas places. But
yeah, he's right about that. It's all about the optics. It's all about the optics. And we're definitely seeing the game of optics play out with the New York mayor trying to look like the good guy by accepting all those migrants. And now he's crying victim when the situation pretty much is out of his hands, is out of control.
I think that people carry or hold on to the weight of my words. And I'm not trying to put anybody in that predicament here or in Brooklyn. So I'm just really trying to move past that, man. And hopefully everybody does the same.
And I hope the Nets do look past it too, because at the end of the day, I believe the Nets ownership sighing with their general manager over their star players might end up coming to bite them in the ass, because the Nets got to realize they're not an organization where superstars like Kevin Durant are going to just flock to. They're not a destination. Even though they're in the New York City market, they're not a destination. And the Nets owner definitely sighed with his GM over Kyrie Irving. And I don't know what's the deal that they struck with Kevin Durant, but after he signed his extension and them not willing to extend Kyrie, KD ended up asking for a trade. So I don't know if they made a handshake deal where the KD package basically came with Kyrie. But at the end of the day, this thing ended up in a complete shit show, and there was never going to be a middle ground. Either this was going to end very well for the Nets, or this was going to end very bad. But the two friends from the city, I wish them well in their endeavors. KD up in Phoenix and Kyrie down in Dallas. And before I get out of here, you guys definitely don't forget to check out the description below. Hit up the mailbag. Leave me a voicemail with your questions. I'll feature it as a segment on the show. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.